all profit is value extraction. And that means that all profit is theft from you.
Corporate America is on welfare, and we got to get them off welfare.
Nothing's more important than stopping fascism, because fascism will stop us all.
Hey y'all, it's Cards and Comrades, your leftist car news podcast. My name is Bryant. We've got Brandon and Connor here today. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
I'm alive.
Yeah, that's good news. Zach couldn't make it. I'm not sure what's going on with him, but it is Easter. We're recording this on Easter, so maybe he's got, family stuff to do or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what he's doing. It's a mystery.
I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm certainly not going to worry about other people.
Yeah. But we got a few news stories to talk about today. We're going to talk about Elon Musk and Twitter and Tesla and all the wonderful stuff that's coming out of that man's companies.
Which I've been thinking for the last few days. It actually pisses me off because we talked about, okay, we'll do a news episode next. And the whole time, as all this shit's going down, I'm like, this motherfucker found himself in the news again for our fucking news episodes. So it's going to be really Elon Musk heavy because he's a bastard. The son of a bitch. One news episode, I don't know, we're going to have to put a ban on Elon Musk news because that fucking bastard.
Oh, I thought that our whole thing was that news episodes were just us shitting on Elon Musk for an hour.
Yeah.
Because he's always in the news, and 1% of the time it's even remotely positive. So
I mean, I was even gonna put together a little jingle or whatever for our Elon Musk hate time or whatever we want to call it.
Yeah, we need something.
Yeah, Elon Musk is buying Twitter. Two great tastes that go great together.
But we plan on talking about the new GR Corolla and maybe a couple other things if we have time. But we're going to try and make this a quick one because we spent a couple hours just bullshitting before we started recording. So we're not great at planning this stuff, guys. So whatever.
We just keep talking and talking and talking. We're like, oh, fuck, we better start this episode at some point.
Yeah. And I'm going to preemptively say sorry if this episode comes out late because I'm busy, and also I'm going to a concert tomorrow, and well, I don't know. Well, it'll happen when it happens. I guess before we get into the news, we should do some Project Car updates, and I think I'm not sure the exact order. Whatever, Brandon, you go first.
Man, I've been going at everything, man. I've been having problems with all of my dailies, but they've all been really minor, so a lot of maintenance. I did start doing some serious work on the 69 that I've been working on the restoration for. I think I told you guys, but last I found somebody who was going to make the window channel that I could not figure out how to make myself. As of last week, he was almost finished with it, and he's close by, so one day I'm going to get the Notion and drive out there and pick them up from him.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Nice.
It was going to be such a nightmare for me to make, and when he put off giving me a price for so long that I started to get nervous, and he finally finished most of it and got all the rough parts hammered out, and then told me $400, which for the amount that I'm buying from him, I'm like, yes, absolutely. Make me 2 sets, Jesus.
Yeah.
Because, this is all handmade by him in his shop. He just has the right tools to be able to hammer it out. Literally on a power hammer. So that, I started tearing apart all the sheet metal in the rear end. I, started drilling out spot welds and removing things so that they could be, hammered, hammer and dolly back to life and patched up and doing, honestly, pretty serious work. It's going smoother than I would have expected it to, and it's a really pleasant reminder of how far I have come in terms of working on cars, because the last time I did serious work on this was probably 5 or 6 years ago. So it's actually been really fun. I am having to take a break from it in the coming weeks because I have taken on a paid job doing some restoration work for a guy. So once I'm done with that, I'll be back to it. But for the next couple of weeks, it might just be that. And I have disassembled one of my motorcycles to start getting it ready, so I have a motorcycle to ride this year too.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, I haven't ridden in a couple of years because all my bikes were broken down, so I dragged them all over to my shop. And that was also another one of those things where I'm like, the last time I worked on this bike, it was really a pain in the ass and it was a nightmare. And as I'm going back through it, I'm like, all of this is really easy, and I don't know what I was struggling with 5 or 6 years ago. Because one of the bikes I'm working on has been off the road for 5 or 6 years. I have so many motorcycles, and that's it. Yeah, I'm gonna keep this short and sweet. Like I did work on my cool chopper and my cool old '60s van, and hoping to have them both back on the road by sometime this summer.
Fuck yeah! All
Nice.
right.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Cool. Well, I haven't done anything on any of my cars other than put gas in them for a couple weeks, so that's kind of nice. I haven't,
Yeah.
They've been reliable. Nothing bad has happened. Although, just minor things like annoyances. Like I was talking about how everything rattles in my MR2, and like some of the electrical stuff kind of doesn't work half the time. But there's not a lot of electrical stuff in that car to go bad, and the fuel injection still works, so I'm not worrying about it if the light in the dashboard doesn't work all the time. But if you guys are okay, I want to go off on a tangent about Honda Accords for a minute,
Let's do it.
specifically the 7th generation.
That's what Jesus drove, right?
Oh, I thought he drove a Plymouth Fury.
No, he was really humble about it. That's why there's the Bible verse for he did not speak of his own accord.
Oh, okay.
What a class act.
When there's the money changers in the temple, he drove them forth in his fury.
Nice.
So,
Zing.
but what was I going to say? Oh, so I've been looking at buying another car to replace my Subaru eventually. Like right now is probably not a prudent time to buy a used car, or any car for that matter.
It is not. Keep what you got. Every listener, keep what you got. If you got to fix it, just fucking do it right now because it's bad.
Yeah, and that's probably what I'll do for at least 6 months a year or so. But the grass is always greener. And one of the, I don't know, I'll just list a couple of the cars I've been looking at. Mazda Speed 3, so the turbo version of the Mazda 3. If I wanted another hot hatch, what was the other one? I was also thinking about a Chevy Volt plug-in hybrid, and that was more when I had a longer commute. But it wouldn't hurt to get 100 miles per gallon. And what was the other one? Anyways, Honda Accord 7th gen, because that is the last generation that they had double wishbone suspension, but the first generation of the K24 engine. And that's a pretty...
So what did they switch to if not a double wishbone?
It's all struts now.
Boo.
I know.
Sucks.
Yeah.
What a fucking downgrade.
Yeah, Honda has really kind of lost their way in a lot of regards. Like, they do some really cool engineering every once in a while, but their suspension is no longer quite as special as it used to be.
Yeah.
But
I think there's a lot of companies that build up a certain reputation and then try and coast on that and cut corners. Because they're like, oh, everyone thinks we're reliable, so we can kind of cut some corners and get away with it.
yeah.
When you say some companies, do you mean all companies?
I mean, yeah, I guess that's just a commentary on capitalism, isn't it? It's just, oh yeah, they all do that if they can.
Right.
If they develop that particular reputation, they will do that.
Well, and you can see it also even with the 7th gen Accord. They cut a lot of corners when you look at the corresponding Acura models. There's the Acura TSX, which is actually based on the European or JDM version of the Accord, which is a little bit different than the American version. But they upgraded, I think the Accord makes like 160, 170 horsepower, and a slightly warmed over version of that same motor in the Acura makes like 200, 205, depending on the year. So like, you know, it's not like huge things. It's like cam profiles and like valve diameters and
Yeah.
a couple tweaks here and there. But they're like, I don't know if you guys don't know listening, if the listeners don't know, like the Honda K24 has like huge tuning potential. Like people make like 500 horsepower out of those engines, and you can make, you know, easily 300 horsepower on like stock internals. From what I hear.
I'm pretty sure even the K series is now becoming a common swap, mostly for this reason. But they can handle boost really well. But the other thing they do is they can make power in naturally aspirated setups pretty well. I mean, it'll cost you some money, but like if you switch to like an individual throttle body setup,
right?
I mean, you can make 350 NA in a fucking you know, a four banger. Like they're pretty stout motors for sure.
Yeah, and you can get a 7th gen Accord, at least where I live, for like $7,000. Like they're not super expensive.
What was the what is the year range on the 7th gen again? I can't remember.
I want to say it's like 2002 to like 2011, somewhere in that range, maybe 2003. I should have probably had this open in another tab here, but yeah, 2003 model year to 2007.
Gotcha.
But I think 2011 is when they stopped using double wishbones. So that would have been the 8th gen, I guess.
Okay. Also, you have a really loud keyboard.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, it's funny. It's just you're always like, let me look this up. Clickety clackety, clickety clackety.
I usually edit it out, but
it's fine to leave it in. I think it's funny.
Okay. But yeah, if the listeners are wondering what kind of sedan to buy, I would say a 7th gen Honda Accord or a similar Honda TSX is a good choice. I'm not necessarily going to buy one anytime soon. So that's all I've got.
I'm worried that ever being able to afford a reasonable used car might just not be a thing anymore.
Oh, I know. I mean, I was looking up reviews of the Acura, and like someone had a video from like 2019, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you can buy these for like $4,000," and nowadays they're like $12,000. I'm like, "Oh god damn it!"
You know, I think I don't know. I'm sure there's definitely going to be listeners that disagree with me, but of all the luxury brands, I think Acura is the weakest. I think they just like I don't know. I don't think they look like luxury cars. I don't think they perform as well. I think they're expensive and for sometimes no reason. Like
I think current Acuras are that way, but like Acuras from 15, 20 years ago compared to their competition were pretty good.
Were they? I don't know. I mean, like I remember the Integra was cool, but like I feel like that hardly qualifies as a luxury car either. It's like
right.
I'm like, I don't know. That was sort of different, but I don't know. I keep looking at these cars and I'm like, they kind of have nothing on BMW, Mercedes, or even Infiniti. I'm just like,
yeah.
It's like it's rebadged Honda. It's like, yeah, you put leather seats in a Honda and now it's an Acura. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, and I'm sure there's listeners who are Acura fans who would point out that I am very wrong. But that's just my perception, and the perception is not great.
Yeah, I mean, I think with any luxury brand, you're going to have just warmed over regular ass shit.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have the Halo brands or Halo cars or whatever.
What's a Halo
I feel spoiled when my cars even have an interior.
A Halo car is like, the idea is it's like the top of the line that is supposed to like drive excitement for that brand.
Oh, I've always called that a flagship vehicle.
Yes, I think flagship is meant to be like the leader in its class, and a Halo car is more like we're pulling out all the stops, like the Ford GT40 or whatever, you know.
Oh, okay.
Or like Acura NSX or
I know,
okay.
I've always called like a flagship car to me. It was like Subaru's flagship was always the WRX STI, and that drove excitement for that brand, and that's what like the STI sells the regular Impreza in a lot of ways. That was always
Right.
my thinking on it. But anyway, tangent, unnecessary. We don't need my commentary.
No, that makes sense. I think we're right on that, but I don't know. Maybe we should ask someone who knows what they're talking about. But yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. You know what we
Automotive
mean.
marketing is bullshit, anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, Connor, what have you been working on?
Not really not a whole lot. Which basically the car still runs like shit. Listeners will be glad to know. It's it is what it is. I'm getting
I'm relieved. I was worried that it was
that maybe I'd fix
running
it.
well and everything.
So I'm getting the itch. So I think at a certain point I'm going to go to a drift event at the first one I have an opportunity to go to. And yeah, the car's not running great, but like it's having issues at idle and on the low end. So I mean, if I go and beat the shit out of it, it should be fine.
Yeah.
So a part of me is like, I should wait until it's running right, and then the other part's like, you know what? I'm gonna suck at drifting the first time I'm back out on the track, so I should just fucking go and send it. I don't know. I'd like to have some fun with it. So yeah, I think at some point, so I got to change onto the summer wheels. I think I'm going to try and do that next weekend. And then I think it's pretty much track ready. I've got, I think, everything I need. So I'm going to try and do some like cheaper, low stakes drift events where I don't need like all the super duper tech inspection stuff. Where they're still pretty lax. I think I'm going to go to a drift event soon because, like I said, I got the itch. And on that note, the car's still running like shit. That's a whole thing. I think it's just the shop I was going to for the tuning. Like, I think they're like a friend of mine. I found out actually who's got a JZ car, so it's a GS 300, and he has spent like 20 grand with them, having like they built the motor and everything. So like they don't have anywhere to point the finger. So like he goes in and they do a good job with his shit because they're JZ car specialists. But then it's like for the VQ stuff, the like Z's and G's, I just don't think they're interested. And I was like, oh, that $2,000, it seems like a lot to me, is fucking chump change. They don't give a fuck. They're like, I'm pretty sure their average customer is like $5,000 to $10,000, and I'm like, hey, I've given you $2,000. You should fix my shit. And they're just like, nah, it's not profitable.
Dude,
So
there's a guy like that here in town who, like, he specializes in some stuff I'm really interested in. So, like, and he has a like world record pro street car. I think his record's been beaten, but he briefly had like a street car that ran, I think, high fives.
whoa, that's not a street car. What is your definition of street car at that point?
Street legal.
That is not street legal. I guess I don't know what the laws are necessarily a lot of times. But.
It might have been high sixes.
Oh, okay. Well, in
Which
that case,
I get is a huge difference, but like
it is. But
because it was like it was like a 0.99 something, so I can't remember if I round up or whatever.
Oh,
but
okay, sure.
But no, he took it on Power Tour, dude. He drove it 1,000 miles on highways.
Okay, there you go.
But it also, yeah, I'm gonna go with 599. I think was what he ran.
My God.
But yeah. Then I realized that you pretty much don't even like pull up into their parking lot unless you want to spend like an exorbitant amount of money and make something that's gonna like make like 1,500 horsepower for as long as you need it to. Like, yeah. It's a high end like I don't have the money to even look the guy in the eye, sort of thing. So,
yeah.
like,
And that sucks. Like it's fundamentally like a working class hobby, but sometimes you're like, the economics of this is like they're not interested in helping me because they're like, yeah, we're not making money on you, not really. And it's just like they're not wrong. Like it's like, well, they got a business to run, so it's like I'm getting screwed. It's like they're not gonna fix my shit because they just don't care. So anyway, I stopped off at another tuning shop in the area. They don't have a pro license for the tuning that I'm getting, but like they might be able to help me. So they're thinking on whether, to help me out or whatever. I guess the guy that does their like legit tuning and stuff, unfortunately he had a stroke a while back, so like he's back to tuning, but like he's kind of trying to take it easy, and he's mostly just doing remote tunes and stuff, which may work for my shit, but like, it's going to require some diagnostics. So I'm going to see if they're willing to fucking try and deal with my shit or not. But like I talked to the guy for like an hour or something. Like the other guy there who owns a shop, and he's a cool guy, and he was like, yeah, kind of. He gets what I'm talking about with sound performance. He was like, yeah, we've heard a few of these come through lately where people go to sound performance because they're really, really good, and then he's like, yeah, but then they're kind of just like left holding the bag when shit doesn't work properly, and they just don't have a good systematic way to like go through to find the problem. So, and like this guy, I talked to him for an hour, and he like mentioned certain things like, I would test this, I would test that, and I'm like, this is the first time I'm literally hearing any of this. So like, yeah, I keep insisting like there is a problem that is able to be found here. Like there's a clear issue. If you approach it right, you can find it, and I think they would do that if they're willing to take the job. So, there's that. If they're not able to help me, I there's another option. But the guy doesn't have the best reviews, and there's drama in the car scene with this guy and stuff. That's a whole thing, So it's like I'm trying to avoid going to that guy, but like if I have to, I will. So yeah, I'm trying. There's very few people who can do this tuning, and I'm trying to find some alternatives right now. So I may have found one. I may not have. We'll see how it works out. But
I'm surprised. I mean, there's a lot of those VQ engines out there. I would have figured that there would be someone out there that could tune them.
there is, but there's only a few that have like the proper, the license and all that stuff to fuck with it. And then there's a lot of remote tunes and shit. So I don't know. It's like there's a lot of them out there, and so like I'm surprised too, because you're like, how can there be like fucking 2-3 shops that fucking do this stuff? But that's how it is, I guess. So yeah, that's kind of a bummer. But anyway, I may have found a shop that can help me if they're willing to, deal with it. So that remains to be seen. But I may be able to make some progress in the future. But even if I don't, I'm gonna drift it soon because I don't really want to wait anymore.
Yeah.
Then the other thing I did was I did take advantage of the fact that I had a garage, and I pulled the car in, did at least some minor interior cleaning, which I usually don't do very often in the winter. So felt good. I was like, okay, the car's feeling nice and clean. I like having a nice clean interior. Enhances the driving experience for me. And it feels good.
I need to do that.
Like it feels like it's got that like spring cleaning kind of feel to it. And I'm like, yeah, all right, cool. So car feels good. I did clean out a bunch of shit in the rear trunk area where I don't have interior, and I'm gonna put interior in there this year. I swear to God, I'm gonna do it. But I like had a bunch of random shit back there and stuff. I took all that out. There was oil spilled back there that I cleaned up. So it's like it's much cleaner in the back section, which is cool. But then I drove the car and I was like, oh yeah, I put a bunch of shit that I didn't need back there in the back because it actually quieted some of the fucking squeaking and scraping and creaking and like it having shit back there really did help. Like the stuff back there banged around and made noise, but like it was better than some of the like there is some kind of metal that squeaks on something that's just like I had it quieted down, and now that I removed everything, it's squeaking and shit, and it's very annoying. So, yeah, that's a thing. But I'm putting the interior in soon, because I've had enough of this nonsense. But yeah. Anyway, so I don't know. I did some cleaning. It's good. It feels good, and the car's got hopefully gonna have some better tuning stuff soon.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at right now.
Maybe at the drifting event, you can find some other 350Z owners that can help you out.
Yeah, unfortunately, at this point, I'm the kind of veteran with the VQ at this point,
Oh,
where it's
really?
like I know more than a lot of folks now, and unfortunately, like it's uprev tuning, and like you can go on their website and see who's able to do uprev tuning in the area, and there's literally 3 places. So yeah, that's the trouble. It's like there's not many places that can do it. So I don't know. Who knows? If I have to, maybe I'll branch out and go, to like Wisconsin or something, or Indiana if I have to, or if I can find a good fucking tuner, maybe I'll go a little bit further. But I really would rather not do that. I'd rather just get it done locally. So
Yeah.
But that's where I'm at. So eventually, hopefully, the thing that I spent a bunch of money on will run right at some point.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I got.
Cool.
Breaking news. That's the part of the show we're at. We're at the breaking news part. This is Cars and Comrades with your car news updates.
So should we talk about how Elon Musk is a shithead? Or no, we have Brandon, you wanted to talk about the Starbucks union.
Well, we didn't really need to get into it too much. I just wanted to give a shout out to the Pittsburgh Starbucks. That was, I believe, the first Starbucks to go union, and they did it with a unanimous vote to do it. So, good job, guys. Happy to see that sort of thing going on in the very town that I'm living in.
Well, hell yeah! They were the first in Pennsylvania, or I thought the first was in Buffalo, New York.
Maybe that was it. I
think
I saw something about it being one of the first, and I wasn't really sure where it fell. But I was mostly focused on the fact that it was a unanimous vote. That kind of left me.
That's very
pretty
cool.
amped on it.
Yeah.
I know I got the news in the context of a couple of Pittsburgh and maybe Eugene or somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. They had the other one that just went union.
Yeah, they're making real big progress. I mean, that's one of the most inspiring union drives in a long time. Starbucks and the Amazon union that was in Staten Island, run by Chris Smalls. That guy's cool.
Every quote that I see from him is just like the hardest shit, man. that guy might be my fucking hero at the moment.
Yeah. I saw some people being critical of him for going on Tucker Carlson. I guess Tucker wanted him to shit on AOC or something, but basically he just stuck to his message and talked about how, workers need unions because
good.
So he didn't let Fox News drive the narrative or whatever. But I mean, I guess there's room for criticism there, but I don't know. Everything I've seen him say has been right on the money. And I don't know. I did also like how he's just dressing. He's not putting on a suit to go and meet with these people or whatever. He's like, fuck you. I look good the way I'm dressed anyways. So I don't need to wear a suit.
I also did the one quote that I saw from him about AOC where somebody asked how he felt about her lack of support. And he just said, asked what he thought about AOC. And he was like, she doesn't deserve this moment.
Yeah,
dude. Shout out to everyone who's doing the fucking thing, man. Go to your workplace, organize. It's great.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and I guess also shout out to the DSA folks that I was talking to yesterday that are on the labor committee and are doing all that organizing work. So yeah. So Elon Musk is kind of a shithead and wants to buy Twitter.
Yay! So... I support it. Why not?
Just burn the whole thing down.
Turn it into
my
4chan.
favorite criticism so far is that he's buying it because he feels like they're censoring people too much. But then at the same time, somebody like some blogger or something just wrote a critical article about him, so he canceled their Tesla order.
Yeah. And I think my favorite take was like someone was just saying, "Oh, you don't want people tweeting that photo of you before you got your hair plugs."
Yeah.
Really, I don't think that's the photo that people keep retweeting. That's the most incriminating of him.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, the one with Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah, Ghislaine Maxwell. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm never sure how to pronounce her name.
Ghislaine or Ghislaine,
Okay.
however you want.
Yeah, who cares? But yeah, I don't know. It's funny, and I think part of it is just he's trying to distract from all the horrible shit that's going on at the various companies that he runs.
Wait, are you
What?
saying he's not a very good business leader?
Yeah, well, the other headline that I have here is Tesla must pay ex-worker $15 million for disturbing racist abuse, judge rules. So, yeah. We talked about this a little bit on a previous news episode, but you know, the working conditions at the Fremont plant in California, the former NUMMI plant, not great for black workers or Latino or Asian workers.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I think I said in the last one. I'm not going to repeat some of the slurs that were said, but there's a lot of them.
Yeah, much appreciated.
Dude, when your workplace is racist enough that even a judge is like, "Nah, guys, you went too far," that's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also liked this little sub headline: "Judge rejects Tesla revisionism," and I don't think he was talking about revisionism in the like Marxist sense, but I just thought that was funny. Like this is like the Sino-Soviet split or something.
Judge rules with Lenin and Lenin v. Musk.
So yeah, let's get into Twitter, the Twitter nonsense, because I think this is an important story, and obviously it's been in the news cycle for quite a while. It's going to be old news by the time this comes out, because it's just moving quick. But
yeah, but people are just clawing for our takes on it, so we gotta.
I mean, I'm clawing for our takes on it. Even though, by the way, I'm sure if you're a listener, go ahead, predict what our take is. Do it right now. Just think, pause the show and decide, what are they going to say about this news story? And whatever you think, that's what we're about to say. So you can almost skip this story, but that's whatever. We're going to talk about it, but you pretty much know what we're thinking.
That it's great.
It's great. So Bryant, I don't know if you've got the like basic facts here to lay out before we kind of comment on it, but let's get into it.
Yeah. So a couple weeks ago, Elon Musk bought 9.2% stake in Twitter, and now he wants to buy the entire company. And it's saying it's a hostile takeover. And I'll be honest, I don't know what a hostile takeover is. I'm not that into financial stuff.
Yeah, I looked into a little bit, so I can get into that when we get to that point.
But whenever I hear that, I always imagine that I think it was from one of the.
Well, a hostel is like a cheap place for you to stay when you're traveling. So I think it's like when you and your friends just rent every room out at the hostel.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, yeah. See, I always imagine one of those Monty Python skits where it's like the business skyscrapers are like pirate ships and they're like firing cannons at each other, stuff like that. They're like swinging across the rigging to board the other business and take it over by force. But I don't think that's what they're talking about necessarily.
No, I don't think so. So, yeah, a little bit of background here. Basically, there's a few things at play here, and it's kind of hard to really judge what's going on. And it's difficult to get inside the head of Elon because he's a fucking maniac and he can do whatever he wants, and he clearly chooses to do. He takes that like as his prerogative. So his initial thing was he buys up a bunch of shares really fast, which he also, by the way, committed fraud in doing so.
Of course.
Part of like SEC filings is to like make sure that information is available. It's sort of this idea that like, oh, high finance is like transparent and accessible, even though it's really not. But like, he didn't file with the SEC about him buying an enormous stake in a fucking social media platform. It's one of those get to it later sorts of deals, but like it's playing it off as if like, oh, this is no big deal. He was just a little bit late, and it's just government bureaucracy, right? And that's how a lot of people are portraying this. But like, to be clear, when the richest people in the world do any trading stocks, they have money managers do this shit, and there are standard forms and standard fucking SEC filings that they're supposed to do. So like, the fact that this shit wasn't done is very, very shady. It is not like a oopsie. It's not a like, oh, this guy just didn't file his tax return this year and he'll do it next year. This is deliberate. So like, one, there's some shady shit. It seems like he was trying to amass a pretty big stake in Twitter before like it became public knowledge.
He's the single largest shareholder now, right?
Yes, he is.
He doesn't own a majority of the company, but he is the largest shareholder.
Correct. So like, he's buying into this company, and of course, one of the like, if he had properly done the filing, this could have been public knowledge, and then people could have potentially profited off of this, right? Like, they're like, oh, Elon's buying into this. I think this is good for the company. I'm going to buy stock because it's a vote of confidence. Like, but because he didn't do the filing, a lot of people couldn't do that. Like, the public didn't know. And so, one, that's pretty fucked up. He's like blatantly committing crimes, and of course, no one's going to give a shit. He's still going to. There's no consequences for him. We know this. There's nothing new there, but of course, it just goes to show that they set up these rules, but the rules are for us. They're not for them. So yes, he becomes the largest shareholder in the company, and here's kind of the thing: he starts using this to generate some media buzz, as Elon is one to do. He's very, very good at this. So there's news story after news story, and people are starting to wonder, oh, is this going to be good? How is he going to influence them? Oh, he likes free speech and stuff, and so he's going to exert some influence to make Twitter better, and oh, he's got some big ideas for making Twitter better and all that. All whatever bullshit nonsense. So this all serves Elon Musk very, very well, that people are saying these wonderful things about it. He's in the news. His brand is growing, and he's pretending he's a like freedom crusader, right? He's got this like weird internet libertarian persona, and he adopts that persona because it's profitable for him. It drives his profits. This will increase Tesla stock down the line because he's in the news, and that's good for Elon. That's why he does it. So part of like, he buys into this company, and then he starts backing off, right? They offered him a board position because Twitter, the board of directors of Twitter is scared shitless. They're like, oh fuck, we're about to like really get our shit rocked if we don't do something real quick. So they kiss his ass. And they're like, we'd love to have you on the board and everything. And Elon Musk was like, yeah, cool, I'm with it. And then he backed out at the last minute. And they said, oh, it's because there's a provision in there that, okay, hey, you're not going to like do some bullshit, right? And, there's news articles out there how he's, he didn't like this one provision. Fucking nonsense. Okay, that provision was always obvious. You don't buy this much stock in a company without like knowing that this is part of the deal. Like, if you come on the board, you can't like disparage the company and like try and tank their stock. Obvious provision. Everyone knows it. It's stupid. And then there's, the New York Times and shit is like, oh, he just like discovered this random provision he didn't like. And it's like, dude, this isn't even the fine print. This is like basic 101 shit that they're pretending that Elon Musk just discovered. And it's like, I'm sorry, that's just not what happened. He's playing it to his advantage. But anyway, so the Twitter board is trying to placate him. And then he starts playing around with the idea of maybe I'll take Twitter private and I'll buy the whole thing. And he's certainly got more than enough money to do it. And here's the problem for Twitter. The reason this is a big deal, they can't just say no. they have to consider the bid because they have a responsibility to treat the shareholders like what's in their best interest, which a sane person would think selling your company to Elon Musk is not in your best interest, but maybe it is. I mean, the guy does generate increases in stock prices, whether that's, because he makes a product better or not. I mean, we know that's not the case, but like
he barely makes a product better, or at all, let alone better.
Exactly. So, but like it could, in theory, be viewed as a good thing for shareholders. But obviously, he's an eccentric maniac, and he's got every reason to just try and destroy Twitter. I mean, what does he give a fuck? He could destroy it. He could turn it into 4chan, and I don't know how 4chan's stock is doing right now, but I don't think it's doing very good. So that's kind of the thing. And so Twitter's trying to resist this to a certain extent. And this is kind of the big news, like as of Thursday or Friday. This is where the Twitter board has kind of come to the understanding that this is a potential hostile takeover. So apparently, I didn't fully understand this before. A company can be taken over by a shareholder against their will. And like, if they just own enough of the company, that's it. That's the end of the game. Oh, you just got bought. And it's like, well, we weren't for sale. And it's like, well, you just got bought. So doesn't really matter. And that's if they get a controlling share. And I think that's about 15%. So if he owns 15%, it becomes Elon Musk's company, essentially. Like he's the biggest, he's over some threshold where he can really make some big decisions. So
it's not even 50% of the company. It's just he needs enough to, more than anyone else.
Correct. And that's why if he was going to join the board, he would be limited to 14.9% of the company, and he can't grow to 15%. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's when he starts playing around with the idea of maybe I'll buy the whole thing. Of course, this projects the fact that he's the richest man in the world. He can do what he wants. And this generates a ton of buzz for him. It's great. It works out very well for him. So the most recent news that I've heard is that the board of Twitter has engaged in they've put in place a poison pill plan. And I was like, what the fuck is that? So I looked into it a little bit, and here's what I can tell you. It's basically a shareholders' rights plan, which every publicly traded company has this. It's basically in the event of a hostile takeover, like where you have a shareholder who is amassing a big chunk of the company and they're going to try and start doing some bullshit. What can happen is the board can vote to put in a shareholders' rights thing. And what it does is basically there's different ways to write it. So they're all slightly different, but they have certain defenses. And in Twitter's case, what would happen is any shareholder who owns Twitter stock would have the option to purchase more Twitter stock at a discounted rate that is below market value. So why that's important is because when you purchase that stock, it is instantaneous profits. So like, let's say I'm a retail investor. I own 2 shares of Twitter, right? It's in my whatever. I own 2 shares, and I'm just some small time investor. I would have the option as a shareholder, I'm pretty sure, but I would have the option to buy at a discounted rate. And so like, let's say that it's trading at $44. I don't know what the rate is, but maybe I can buy it at $39 or $30. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know the rate, but I could buy the share at this lower price, and then I can sell it on the market for the market value. So that's literally instantaneous profits. But what this does is it creates new shares in the company. So for everyone, it's kind of like how the US dollar is created out of debt. It's the same concept here. The existing shareholders now have the option, and most of your retail investors aren't taking advantage of this. The big investors, the people on the board, the rich people who have a big chunk of this in their portfolio, they have an option to do this. And this creates new shares of the company, which dilutes all other existing shares. So like Elon Musk having, let's say, 9% of the company, they put in this plan. All of a sudden, a bunch of people start buying these new stocks. What happens is now Elon Musk's share goes down. He now owns 8% and then 7% and then 6% because it's hard to keep up with that situation. So his stock is getting diluted, and he's exempt from this. He has to buy at market rate. He can't buy at the discounted rate. So like he's now betting against hundreds, thousands, or maybe millions of shareholders who are buying at this discounted rate and diluting his shares. So it doesn't make a hostile takeover impossible, but it raises the cost of doing so significantly. So it's a defense mechanism for companies that don't want to be taken over. So it's a weird, complicated strategy, and I can't help but think it's kind of funny that it's like, wow, maybe we should just have a situation where people can vote and be like, hey, no, we don't want to be taken over, but whatever.
I don't know how speculative it was, but I've actually seen one person write something with, since I saw the poison pill thing.
Yeah.
And that was basically that he doesn't have enough money to buy Twitter.
I would say he does. It would.
Okay, so no, but they laid it out in such a way where it is estimated that I forget how many. What was the price again? Like 30 billion
for what?
For to do like the hostile takeover to buy like enough shares in Twitter.
So his offer to buy the company outright was like 50 something billion, which is a 50% premium over the share price. So like it's more than the company is technically worth on paper.
Okay, so the problem that he encounters is that to generate that sort of money, he has to either liquidate assets or take out a loan. If he liquidates assets, in theory, and we all know how people get around stuff, but if he liquidates like $50 billion worth of assets, he takes a hit in terms of taxes and things like that. And to take out a loan creates its own sort of subset of problems.
Especially on a bad investment. If they're using a poison pill and they're raising the price of the company artificially this way, it's harder to get a loan for that, for sure.
So my take on this might be unexpected because I kind of do want this to happen, because I think Twitter is a cesspool.
Yeah, it is.
And I would love to see Elon Musk sink a total, like, if it's 50 billion on top of however much he's already spent, I would love with every fiber of my being for him to spend like $60 billion on something that becomes almost instantly worthless because he did that.
I had similar thoughts on it actually a couple days ago where I was like, yeah, I'd love to see him. It would be so relatable. Like oh, this would be like this motherfucker buying my Camaro. Like, yeah, do it, motherfucker. Something's gonna break. It's gonna be worthless. But like, a part of me thinks I'm like, he does have the money to do it, and I don't know that it really matters to him. And if he comes away with Twitter as an asset, his followers will, like, a new myth will be created around Elon Musk's genius to justify it, and I think it could quadruple Twitter stock in a few years based on nothing, based on bullshit, but like it could happen. So like a part of me is like, I'm a little bit nervous about that. Like it could be successful even though it shouldn't be, and on like there's no factually it shouldn't happen, but like he's a fucking grifter and a half, and it could pay off for him, and I don't want to see that happen.
Yeah, I've listened to enough Trash Future to know that NFTs are going to be involved in some way in the future, if they're not already.
Yeah.
No, that's how they're going to. That's Starbucks' plan for how they're going to afford to pay the new union workers.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a wild situation, and a part of me, I'm genuinely. The last news I heard was, I did see some talk that, if Twitter engages in a poison pill kind of plan, that Elon Musk, he was alluding to a plan B, but it sounds like his plan B was actually just like, oh, okay, I won't buy it then. Which I don't know what you guys think. I don't know if there's any way to suss out an answer. I don't know if he was ever serious or not. I could see arguments in both ways. Sure, it makes perfect sense that a billionaire piece of shit like him would want to control media just like every other billionaire, of course. Why not? You know what I mean? So that would benefit him. But at the same time, so does like doing this kind of plan, which he savaged Twitter in the process, right? So he's like kind of taking down Twitter in a way that like he's, you know, trying to take him down a peg or whatever. So he hurts them, which maybe he wanted to do, and he also improves his own brand. I don't know if he was ever serious about buying it. Like, it's weird that he's like, "Oh, I'll join the board," and "Oh, now I won't." That's very suspect, and they're acting like, "Oh, he just discovered this obvious provision that everyone knows ahead of time, and that like would not be news to him." And that's what caused him to back
it's
out.
Schrodinger's Musk. He's simultaneously like doing this as a joke and also deadly serious about it. And
Yeah.
whatever pans out was what he is going to claim he wanted the whole time.
That's kind of my thinking is like, yeah, he might have bought it. Like, it would benefit him. But like at the same time, kind of seems like he wasn't serious. Like, he's like, yeah, I could buy your company. Like, watch, I'll make an offer. And now he's making the fucking board shit in their pants, but like it's not actually serious. It seems like he was already fucking pulling some bullshit, but he took over the news cycle for over a week. In today we know that like something happens and 24 hours later it's gone. So he took over the news cycle for a week, and that is impressive. So like it kind of seems to me like it was never a serious thing, but like, yeah, he would have gone through with it if it benefited him. But like, this seemed like a way to generate publicity. Like, he is like the Britney Spears of like early 2000s for like business.
He is fully enough of a narcissist that he would spend like $10 billion just for a big look at me moment.
Yep. And that's the thing. And I think it's probably going to benefit him. Like, I saw the bootlickers come out of the woodwork and I was like, damn, he galvanizes these fucking people. And like, it is a flex. And I'm like, it works. These people are nuts. They're just out of touch with reality. They literally were like, he's a crusader for free speech and I was like, oh my God, you people are, how do you believe this? But they do. So yeah, that's the thing. I think he's
a crusader for his free speech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly. So yeah, there's I feel like that's kind of the Twitter take, unless anyone else has anything to add. But of course we have to talk about billionaires trying to own media and everything we see naturally.
Yeah. I mean, I got a couple things to talk about before we move on, just real quickly.
Hit it.
So this is a little bit older news. This is from March. Tesla was the least reliable electric vehicle in the UK.
Nice.
From a survey of drivers, but also the most popular. So they keep selling even if they're unreliable. And then another story from 2019. So this is a little bit old, but they had 3 times as many OSHA violations as the 10 largest plants combined. 10 largest U.S. plants. So
wait, say that again. They had
3 times as many OSHA violations as the 10 largest U.S. plants combined.
In the U.S. plants, as in like of any manufacturing, or
I believe so. So any car factory in the U.S.
That is so
not all manufacturing, crazy. But all automotive manufacturing.
Okay,
right.
That's fucking crazy. That is outrageous.
Yeah, and so I don't know if they've improved in the last 3 years, but something says no.
I don't know how they like. A part of me wonders. I'm like, how do you not like go to prison for that? Like at a certain point where they're just like, oh, you know what? You're like killing people at this point. Like you're a murderer. Like you gotta go. I mean, I get it. I know.
They would sentence him to prison,
but,
and then he would just buy the prison.
Yeah, I know how it works, but God, it's very frustrating.
Yeah. On that article, there's a pie chart, number of OSHA violations 2014 to 2018. Tesla is 75% of that.
Jesus Christ.
Like,
I mean, I know we've mentioned this on air before, but let us not forget that he doesn't like the color yellow and bright flashing lights. So, like, They do things like take off safety devices on forklifts because he doesn't like that they have the yellow flashing lights and stuff like that.
It's that's actually ableist of you to say that because Elon Musk is autistic and those flashing lights trigger him. So
Yeah.
At
the expense of workers.
Right off.
as I was saying that, I was like, I can't. I don't know. What was I going to say? Oh, he also blamed streetcars for the lack of self-driving Teslas in Toronto. So,
Nice.
Cars, privately owned cars and streetcars are still having trouble with each other 100 years later. So
yeah, we'll call back there. Nice.
Yeah. And it's not because he refuses to put radar or LiDAR on them and uses cameras instead. That's not the problem.
I will keep harping on this forever. It is so fucking crazy that he just will not come around on that. It's like, nope, we're gonna teach a computer to use cameras, and you're just like, okay, man, that's sure.
You're probably gonna kill someone, but whatever, go off.
Incredible.
And then just because I thought it was funny, this is from 2020. Did you know Elon Musk wrecked an uninsured McLaren F1? His last words were, "Watch this." Before he wrecked it.
What are the quick details on that? How did he wreck? I just want to know.
So this was in 1999 when he had just sold his first company called Zip2.
Yeah. Okay.
And so he was only a millionaire back then. And Peter Thiel was in the passenger seat. So it's kind of a shame that they both didn't die. But
yeah, no kidding.
So he didn't bother to get insurance for it for whatever reason. And just floored it on the highway and spun around and wrecked into the embankment on the side.
Nice.
So, yeah.
It goes back, that reminds me of the first time I had someone point out that, the amount of power that Teslas make, as car guys, you're like, fuck yeah, this thing does 0 to 60 in, 2.1 seconds, cool. And it's easy to forget that, an idiot like the manufacturer of these fucking cars generally doesn't know how to drive a car with that much power.
Right.
It's an actual safety issue, not a cool selling point.
Yeah. Well, it's did you all see that video of the guy launching the Tesla over a hill?
Yes.
And wrecking it into some parked cars? Even if you do have traction control, it's not going to save you if you just do dumb shit like that.
Yeah.
Traction control only matters when your tires are on the ground.
Yes. Elon Musk is a shithead. And I feel confident saying that.
Yeah, he's a fucko.
So yeah, you guys want to talk about the GR Corolla?
Let's get into it.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this, even though I will probably never be able to afford one. But I don't know. I think it's. I was telling Zach the other day. I think it's cool that Toyota's making sporty cars again.
Yeah, it's about time.
And, yeah, I mean, all the GR cars have been pretty cool.
Yeah, they seem to be coming out with some halfway decent stuff. I'm interested in the GR Corolla, but I think it looks really cool. I was almost surprised when I started seeing the sporty looking Corolla hatches, and I was like, it's actually a decent looking hot hatch. But I'm a little skeptical still. I'm becoming more interested in hot hatches, but I felt like we'll have to talk about some of the details that have been revealed so far in this thing, but they were talking a target of around 300 horsepower or something, and I was like, it seems a little low for the time. I mean, the STI hatches had that or pretty nearly that, a decade ago. So I'm like, it's cool that it's Toyota though, so it's probably going to be super reliable, and Subarus are just not.
Yeah.
I don't think they are. I mean, I have a friend of mine who's all about Subarus. He's like, no, they're the most reliable things ever. I was like, my dude, I don't think so, man. He's like, oh, you just gotta maintain them meticulously like a fucking maniac, and then they'll last forever. And I'm like, that's any car. If you
Right.
I'm like, yeah, if you do your oil changes on any car, they'll last. Like that helps a lot, man. But
Yeah. As long as you adjust the valves every 20,000 miles on this Lamborghini, it'll last for at least 50,000 miles.
that isn't that wild? Like the most expensive cars in the world, they all have under fucking 20,000 miles because they will break if they go beyond that.
Right.
They're just like, how is this the best engineering or whatever? I'm like, what are you doing wrong? I mean, you get some fucking
race
idiot.
engineering and reliability engineering are pretty wildly different animals.
I
Right.
mean, look, there's a lot of people who are driving on the street with like 700-800 horsepower fucking turbo monster ass things, and they just like, oh, they have forged internals and like an upgraded oil pump, so they're fine. Whereas like a Lamborghini is just like 700 horsepower, but like it's going to cost you $800 for every oil change. Oh, and by the way, this thing's going to blow up at 50,000. Ain't no way around it. That's just
I maintain my point because, like, if that thing is making 700 horsepower, it's probably doing it with an engine like a third the size. It weighs 1,000 pounds less for some reason. It has suspension where you won't even notice speed bumps. Like,
yeah.
I'm not gonna advocate for that. I'm just gonna say, like, for a drastic comparison, like, no, you don't take an F1 car out on the road and just scoot around for 20,000 miles. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we'll see how reliable this Corolla is. I mean, I'm pretty impressed by it, but it's a 1.6 liter 3-cylinder. So they're putting a lot of boost into it. Like, it doesn't say in this article, like, how many pounds of boost, but it's got to be a lot to make 300 horsepower out of a 1.6.
And that's the same. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be the same engine they're using in like the GR Yaris, right? It's just going to have more power.
Yeah, it's just slightly tuned up.
Do you know what like kind of gas mileage the GR Yaris gets?
That's a good question.
It's like I have become just like interested in it, like just like my Z gets really good gas mileage now that I'm making more power and like I've got it tuned and everything. I get really good gas mileage, and so I'm just like wondering, like, other cars, are they like above that or what? Because I've got a 3.5 liter V6, like it's not a tiny engine. Brandon, you don't have to say anything, but
well, what I was going to say was actually more, not just criticizing you guys' tiny motors. No, like that. There's two ways to make power. Like, in speaking in broad terms, there's two ways to make power. One is RPM. You just wind the fucking thing out, and as long as you have enough airflow, you make power. And the other one, which is really the more practical way for all of us, and these work in conjunction with each other, it's efficiency.
Yeah.
And like, if you can make your motor more efficient, like, hypothetically, it only takes X amount of power to move a vehicle at a certain speed. So if you can make it more efficient, then you have a motor that's still only going to be using like 80 or 100 horsepower to move, but just so happens to like do it maybe at a lower RPM, which gives you more fuel efficiency, or just at the same RPM, but there's a lot more to it when you step on the pedal and it's just more fun to drive, things like that.
Yeah. And I wonder, like, if the reason why they're using a 3-cylinder is because you don't have as much friction because there's fewer cylinders. That could be part of it. But it's saying 28.6 miles per gallon in mixed driving. Which,
that's pretty, I mean, that's decent for that kind of power and stuff. I mean, that's probably better than I get. Although I do pretty well. Like on the highway, I'm hitting 36 and 37 pretty regularly on the highway.
Wow. Okay. That's better than any car I own. I am
got very surprised by that number. That is not bad.
I got like 32 in my last tank in my MR2.
I'm a part of me thinks I should like test it out, like, and do a couple rounds of like checking like a half a tank of gas, like how far I actually get, and like really testing, because I'm going by the gauges in the car. But like, it's the gauge in the car is giving me much higher numbers than it used to before the build and the tune and everything. Like I've noticed, I'm like, because at certain speeds, I knew about what gas mileage I got. It would be whatever. And now I'm like, I can be going 70 miles an hour and I'm like 35 miles to the gallon. I'm like, that's the best I ever got before I did this stuff. And I'm doing it at like 70 and 75 miles an hour. Like, I don't have to baby it. It's like really good gas mileage now. Which makes sense.
I'm over here so happy that I got a van that's getting 16 and I'm going to be able to get it up to 20 soon. Fuck you. And that's if I don't go over 60, mind you.
And it's funny because like I'm getting this gas mileage and I'm making almost 100 horsepower more than stock. Like, but it's much more efficient now. So I love it. It's fun and it's quick. It moves and still gets decent gas mileage. So I love it. So that's why I'd like to see. It sounds like this GR Corolla could be pretty cool. It seems like it's probably going to be kind of on the lighter side, which is I'm hoping for anyway.
It's about last I saw it was around 3,300 pounds, so around the same as a Subaru STI hatch or whatever.
Okay, yeah, it's actually about what my 350Z weighs too, so it's right in there, which isn't too bad for a newer-ish car with 4 doors and stuff.
Right, and all-wheel drive too.
Mm.
It looks like it's got some high-tech stuff. It's got a pretty high-tech all-wheel drive system that can vary the torque split. It's got optional front and rear LSDs, and then 4-piston brakes with 14-inch rotors in the front.
Sweet.
2-piston in the rear, and then it's got a forged carbon roof, which is basically like the easier to manufacture way of making carbon fiber, where it's just like injection molded basically.
No, actually, I think I actually recently looked into this because forged carbon, I was like, what the fuck does that mean? It's actually, I think it's like they somehow take old carbon fiber, so like regular carbon fiber that's been like broken, cracked, smashed, whatever, it's been recycled, and they take that and they do a forging process that is very similar to what they do for like, metal alloys and stuff, and they just crush all this existing carbon fiber together and they just crunch it together and it makes something that's actually stronger, I believe. So it's like it's forged carbon fiber in that respect. And I think it like, and it's supposed to look kind of weird. Like it almost looks like plywood, like where it's almost like you can almost see like it's a bunch of wood chips pressed together in there or whatever. It looks like that, but carbon fiber. So like you'll see the light will reflect on it weird, and it like it looks pretty weird. So I did a little reading into the forged carbon recently when I saw it. It looks like a bunch of shards of shit pressed together. It's really cool. It's cool, but like it's weird. It wouldn't work in every instance, but like on a roof or something, it's probably like in theory it should be really strong, really light, and look pretty cool. So, yeah,
it's made from like chopped fibers rather than like woven fibers.
Yeah.
And I think the advantage of that is that you can kind of just dump a bunch of it into a mold and rather than lay it up by hand.
Exactly.
So it's almost
like
this isn't our normal conversation, but I'm really interested to hear about the safety of that, because carbon fiber is so strong and has such a good strength to weight ratio, but also its weakness is like getting cut and scraped. So like if you just flipped it over, it would be stout, but if it like slid on its roof, that could like, I don't know, man. I'm very curious. Like, I'm not even going to really speculate on good or bad. I'm just fascinated by that.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about the material properties or whatever, but I think with this, in this case, it's like, the roof isn't going to be. Yeah, you're probably not going to crash and break the roof or whatever. It's probably not going to have a tree fall on it, so it doesn't have to be the most dent resistant or whatever. It just has to be strong.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, if it was something like a tree falling on it, if it's basically like regular carbon fiber in at least some ways, that tree's just going to bounce off of it, and you're going to have like a scuff.
Okay.
Yeah,
it might break glass.
I don't remember exactly, but I think the forged carbon is much like a forged alloy. Like, I think it is actually even stronger than your regular woven carbon fiber, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I recently looked into it, so like, if you're a listener and you're like, hey, that sounds questionable, which it does, because I'm not super confident, you can double check that. Look into it. Like, a brief article will explain it. I think that's what I had read, though, is that it is actually stronger and it's easier to produce in a lot of ways, because you can use like old recycled carbon fiber and just smash it together. So
Yeah.
Okay, spitballing here. We saved the environment by pulling all the carbon out of the atmosphere and turning it into more cars.
Yeah.
I love it. Yes, 100%. Cars and Comrades take right there. I love it.
Yeah, or
Save
whatever.
the world with more cars.
I don't have the article in front of me, but one of the things, this might be old news, but there was someone looking into using waste from oil refineries to make carbon fiber, so that you're not using like I think the way that they make carbon fiber now is like they make a polymer and then cook off some of the chemical components that aren't carbon and leave just the carbon.
Yeah.
And this is a way of doing it with just getting basically the carbon sludge that's at the bottom of an oil refinery and turning that into fibers some way or another. I don't know all the details.
Yeah, that is part of it.
But you still got to get oil out of the ground to do that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe we should just make things out of wood instead. That's the original carbon fiber.
Yeah.
I have seen things like that done. It does actually have a surprising strength to weight ratio depending on exactly how you use the wood.
Yeah. There was a point where I was thinking about building my own bicycle frame out of wood. I've seen a couple people do it.
I've sseen people do it with bamboo, and that's the move. There's a lot of flex, but it just won't break.
Right.
That's cool. Hey, real quick, I did look up because I wanted to like get this right. So I looked up forged carbon fiber, and so a few little factoids here. Forged composite contains a higher fiber volume because obviously it's like smashed together, which combined with higher variation in strand orientation, because all the strands are in different directions, it increases the average strength and reduce variability over standard carbon fiber. The material is claimed to have 1/3 the density of titanium and equal or greater strength. So
okay.
it's also, the other thing is, because of the way it's like formed and created, it actually is more precise when you can make more shapes than you could on regular carbon fiber, just because it's chopped up in smaller bits. It's like actually easier to form. So it's easier to work with. It is stronger and it is lighter. Like it's kind of a miracle material. So, and it by this, like, it sounds like it's in its early stages of existence. So like it's going to cost a bit more right now, but in theory, this could become cheaper than regular carbon fiber at some point.
Yeah.
So very cool.
And, a lot of people were comparing the GR Corolla to the STI hatch. Like we were talking about that a little bit. And one of the things I was saying is like the last time there was an STI hatch, it had some variant of the EJ motor, which was designed or first came out in like 1994, I think.
Yeah.
So like it was getting a little bit old and not that high tech. And like Subaru is making some, like their new, I forget what the name of the motor is, but their new motor that's in like the WRX and the Ascent and a few other vehicles. It's a good motor. Like it's very high tech. I mean, of course, it's got some weird design features that Subaru just has to throw in some dumb shit in there because they're Subaru. But like, from what I understand, they're not doing the new STI, or they're at least postponing it just because they want to focus on like hybrids and electrical vehicles, rather than go through all the trouble of engineering a new Halo brand car or whatever, the new top of the line car.
Yeah, which actually, speaking of that, like I have a take on how hybrid technology was actually introduced in for like consumer, cars. And I actually think that they really should have started hybrid technology, like putting that into sports cars really
Oh, yeah.
early. That would have, like, honest to God, that would have helped save the environment. But the marketing geniuses really screwed the pooch on that one.
It might not have saved everything, but it would have at least saved all of the dumb conversations about how, well, technically, hybrids are worse for the environment because of
Yeah, and it would have gotten a lot of like people who like performance on board a lot quicker, because they've just been reactionary dipshits about it the whole time. Like, oh, hybrids are stupid and they're not manly enough. And this is where like our toxic masculinity is like cooking the planet, because they're like, oh, I'm not I'm too manly to drive a hybrid. And it's like, would have been really cool if like we had Mustang hybrids and Camaro hybrids like 15 years ago, which was
Right.
perfectly and they could have been way faster than any Camaro or Mustang was at the time. But they could have just smoked them. Like, it wasn't even a question. So we could have had better performing cars that were better for the environment long ago, but we didn't.
I'm
Woo.
I'm mostly just surprised that more manufacturers didn't use hybrid technology to make all-wheel drive cars that weren't already all-wheel drive.
Yeah,
Like
would have been
because
really
you don't
easy.
need a drive shaft. You can just put a drive unit with an electric motor and a differential in the back somewhere, and take a front wheel drive car and make it all wheel drive or whatever. So I don't know why. I mean, I think Toyota did that with the Highlander, but that's not a performance car or anything. So I don't know why other companies aren't doing that.
I want to say that's the layout on that Koenigsegg hybrid. That's like 1,400 horsepower or something.
If it's the one I'm thinking of, it has a really weird drivetrain where it's like mid-engine and front-wheel drive, and then has so like the engine is in the back, and it drives the front wheels through a drive shaft, and then it has electric motors in the back driving the rear wheels, or something like that.
I thought that's what
weird.
you were kind of just describing, roundabout.
I mean, yeah, but opposite, without
Okay,
a drive shaft.
Yeah, so
So-
you've got a
Okay.
motor driving your engine driving the front wheels, and then you just add an electric motor for the rear or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of ways that hybrid technology could have been used and it could have been both. Oh, it'll save on gas here and there, but it could also be used for performance here and there. You like put it into sport mode, and you'll have faster acceleration off. Like, there was so many ways that this could have gone, and they chose to do fucking none of it. And it's not like, oh, well, the market wouldn't have liked these products. No, the market would have absolutely loved these products, and these companies all could have made crazy fucking profits. And sure, maybe this is speculation, so like, I don't know, maybe that wouldn't have happened, but kind of seems like a no-brainer, right? Like, oh, I can save on gas, help the environment, and go faster than any of these other sports cars. Sign me up. I mean, like, what would be the argument against it even at that point? So
Yeah.
they could have deployed this stuff very early, but obviously they decided not to, through incompetence, or they didn't want to put the investment in, or it was expensive to do, whatever the case may be. Obviously, it's like, well, the price of cars now is through the roof anyway. So, like, it seems like this could have been a much better path to take, and all these genius business folk didn't come up with that. And it's like, I don't think you have to be a fucking genius to figure out that this would have been a better path, even at the time. Like, we had the technology, it existed. Why would you?
Well, how
not
about
do it?
this? Fuck whether or not they're like cool. What is just wrong with like? I just spent $80 on filling up my van, and that's going to get me like 200-ish miles.
Yeah.
So what the fuck is wrong with me getting 1,000 miles out of that tank? Like, like all these dudes who think that like hybrids are so uncool. Like, dude, your lifted Ram that gets 6 miles to a gallon diesel is not that fucking cool. Like, it sucks. You're stupid. Like,
Yeah, I agree.
I I don't know if I can rant for a second here. I don't know why there aren't like affordable, ordinary, regular ass electric cars, available today. Like the Nissan Leaf is the closest I can think of. That's
Yeah.
just a boring hatchback that's electric and, doesn't have a lot of power, doesn't have a lot of luxury features, doesn't have the greatest range or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why there's not more companies making that, but like everything's an SUV or a luxury sedan or whatever. I don't know. If I wanted to buy an electric car, it would just be basic transportation. I'm not looking for,
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be cool to get a fucking muscle car or whatever, but I probably couldn't afford that. So
Yeah. No, it's
I don't know.
They're
it's wild.
surprisingly
Everybody's-
affordable as long as you buy one that just breaks all the time, in my experience.
No, part of it is too. I mean, they're everybody's making SUVs because they're just super profitable,
Right.
and I don't like fully understand. I think part of it is because like we now have 7-year car loans. Like they just keep making more and more expensive cars, and so they just keep extending the loan length because there's no like people are not making any more money, so their monthly payment can't change. But like everybody's making an SUV now. Like Lamborghini's making one. It's rumored that Ferrari's going to come out with one. It's just like what? And apparently they make
Lotus has
way-
one now.
They make more money on those SUVs than they do on any of their other cars, and it's so
Right.
stupid. You're just like, this is the dumbest thing ever. Like, what a stupid ass like. Who crazy? Who would buy a Lamborghini? It's so stupid. But like they're profitable, no matter what. They are profitable, and of course, everyone who's bought an SUV fucking for the last 10 years, like I remember when they started talking. Oh, the SUV and truck sales are way up, and but and the gas prices are low, and that made sense. And I just remember thinking like. These people are going to be really pissed in 2 years on the price of, and sure enough, the gas prices is killing people, and they're like, oh my, and they're crying, and you're like, well, you bought an SUV, like you had to see this coming. Like I don't understand. Like come on now. But yeah,
It's Joe Biden's fault that I bought this SUV 10 years ago.
yeah,
Hey, we don't. I know that we don't have this on the roster for news stories, but this just popped into my head, and it's the first thing that I might actually say, like, yeah, okay, this is one of the better things Biden has done. But like now, I've heard so little about it. I'm more wondering if I've misread or misunderstood something. But supposedly, we're supposed to start shooting for like 50 miles to a gallon average in the U.S. by like 2026 now.
Yeah, I know they keep changing those or raising those things, but I think that's like is it like corporate average fuel economy standards
I think
or something?
it's a fleet average. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so like there's ways of getting around that. Basically,
it's- it's still good overall. Like it's
Yeah.
better than the average today, but like yeah, they still will sell gas guzzling piece of shit SUVs and stuff, but like they'll also have full electric vehicles to offset it. And so it's like electric vehicles are better for the environment than fossil fuel cars. Like they are better, but the problem becomes if you use that, which is like it's better, but it's not like astronomically better. If you start using that to offset the other cars that are worse for the environment, like you really get rid of a lot of the gains, unfortunately, by doing by offsetting it that way, because it's like they're better, but it's not like going from, oh, this is 100 in emission units and this is 0. It's like this one's 100, this one's 70, and so now we're going to treat it like your car's average emissions are 50. You know what I mean? Like, so
Okay, I have it in front of me now, and it is by 2026. It will require all cars and trucks to have an average fuel economy of 49 miles per gallon, as to where the current average is 36.
how is the
okay.
current average 36? I'm questioning that.
I think what they do is they say it's not like the average of every single car that you sell. It's your model range is like 10 vehicles, and one of them gets like 12 miles per gallon, and one gets the electric equivalent of 100 miles per gallon or whatever. And so we just average that out across all the 10 models that you sell.
Yeah, I think that's
It's
how
not-
it goes, because it can't be like I would be fine with it if it was like every car, like it has to be above 50 miles per gallon or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I love that. But the problem is the key giveaways are like, oh, well, now the average is 36. And I'm like, okay, I can definitely think of cars that are not anywhere near that. So they must be averaging it out among the fleet. And like I was explaining, you can dilute that effect very quickly, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
Supposedly they are trying to like get rid of some of the loopholes that was allowing things like Dodge releasing 800 horsepower motors that get like 15 miles to a gallon.
yeah.
Because Dodge did actually get in trouble for doing that. They're I don't know. I'm sure the repercussions were like borderline, like non-existent, but that is a battle that they've been fighting ever since like the new iteration of the horsepower wars, because everything they make gets such bad fuel economy.
You know, actually, I'm surprised. I noticed, like, just last night or something, I was like, I saw another Hellcat Charger or something, and I was just like, I'm actually surprised how many Hellcats are out there on the road.
Yeah.
Because, like, I see them almost daily, and I was like, oh, that's actually, like, more than I expected. For a top-of-the-line motor like that, there are a lot of them that sold. Like, way more than I would have expected.
And they all still have that stupid fucking yellow protectors on the
All
front
of
splitter.
them, every goddamn one of them. But I was noticing, I was like, it does seem like there are way too many Hellcats. Like this, I was all for like, hey, a few Hellcats is cool to have out there, but I'm like, everyone has one now, and I'm like, I don't know how people are affording this, but like, I don't know, it's just way more than I expected. So, yeah, it does seem like an issue.
Yeah, so I guess following up on a previous episode, there's a study that has come out that lead from gasoline has blunted the IQ of about half the U.S. population.
Yeah, I've noticed.
So I know a lot of people were posting this and saying, "Oh, this explains a lot."
I mean, of course, that's the natural like joke out there, but like, after seeing how people are reacting to Elon Musk wanting to buy Twitter, I'm like, I see it. I see it 100%. I've seen it before, but I really see it now. 50% minimum.
Yeah. And as I said in the episode about leaded gasoline, like generally speaking, it's people on the lower end of the economic spectrum that are suffering the most from this, It's people that live next to highways, or they live in houses with lead paint because they can't afford to renovate them, or their landlord won't, or what have you. So it's a little bit of a sad story. Well, it's not a good story, no matter how you look at it.
Yeah, it's not.
Like, think of all the human potential that we've lost from just spraying neurotoxins into the air for 70 years or whatever. So, yeah, I don't know.
A lot of human potential wasted on a lot of things. It's just, it's very depressing sometimes when I'm like, I think about what humanity could be and what it is, and you're just like, fuck, what a sad fucking story.
I'm just shocked to find out that like the material conditions of your upbringing have an effect on you later in life.
Huh. That is interesting.
This is the first time I've ever heard this documented.
I've always heard that like we live in a meritocracy, and like, if you just have the fucking will to like do something, there's nothing that can stop you. Everyone has an equal opportunity.
These consumers just need to make an educated decision about the air they're breathing.
Yeah.
They just don't have to support the people who are polluting the air in their neighborhoods, actually. So, like, let's just calm down before we go blaming the companies. Why are they still in business? That's their fault, right? Shouldn't have bought their stuff. I'm an ANCAP again.
I can't.
I'm not. I'm done.
Sorry.
I'm done. All right. Well, then we got this Convoy story too, huh?
Yeah, I haven't really followed this as closely as the one in Canada, to be honest, but because I was busy with other stuff.
This one really petered out real quick. They were desperate and like peeing in their pants like immediately. So, what's
Yeah,
the
I do
news?
like that this headline from the Daily Beast: People's Convoy gives up, will leave DC after 3 weeks of doing absolutely nothing.
Jeez, I didn't even know they were
So
still there. Like, what? There had to be like 6 trucks driving around in a fucking circle for 3 weeks. You're like, what are you doing?
yeah,
What
this
are you?
is from the end of March here. So I mean, I think it's all over and done now. But like I said, I haven't really followed it too
I
closely.
can't believe it went on 3 weeks. I really can't. Like, it
Yeah.
was. It fell into like disarray pretty much immediately. They didn't have a real plan, and like, there were stories that like, oh, they're like, oh, we're peeing in our pants because we're getting stuck in traffic. And one, I'm just like, this is a message to any. Obviously, our listeners are leftists. If you're going to talk to the media, don't ever tell them embarrassing shit like that. Don't fucking ever say you peed in your pants. Ever. For any fucking. If they look at your pants, they're like, why are your pants wet? You say, because you know what? I peed it. Or don't even say I peed. I spilled revolution water on my pants. Go fuck yourself. Like, don't ever say you peed in your fucking pants. And these people are like, we're peeing in our pants because we're stuck in traffic. And it's like, you're truckers. What do you. I don't remember if we covered this story on the show, but like, how do you not have your backup bottles in the car, in the truck? Like,
Yeah.
and it's gross. And I'm sure there's a lot of people listening like, ew, I can't believe me. I have done it. And you wind up in you find yourself in some really fucked up situations where you need yourself a bottle. That's just a fact. Okay. You have to get some shit done because we have bodily functions and they cannot be stopped. These
Never say
truckers,
I pissed my pants. Simply say someone pissed my pants.
I just that's the lesson here is just like, one, they obviously didn't accomplish anything, whatever, but I will say a lot of our leftist protests don't accomplish anything either. That's not like saying don't do it, but like, we got to be realistic. There's 10 of us sometimes at some of these demonstrations and it's important to be there, but like, don't ever say you peed in your fucking pants. Don't ever tell the press about how we failed in some way like these fucking idiots did. And they're just like, they just couldn't wait to go talk to the fucking press, and all these dipshits are like just talking about what a failure this is. So that's kind of the perception. Like, everyone perceived this as a joke. And like, when leftists do protests that aren't the most effective, and it's like, you'll see 12 fucking climate activists facing off against 300 cops, right? We're used to seeing that, but like, they don't say stupid, embarrassing shit like this. Like, they don't like go and cry to the fucking media about like. I guess we're just more used to being on the shit end of things, and yeah, don't ever tell the media embarrassing shit like that because this is fucking a joke, and they're getting ripped on for this convoy relentlessly as they should.
Yeah.
But
I think my favorite moment was the bicyclist who slowed down their protest by just biking in front of them.
I mean, it's shit like that where like these people were thwarted at every turn. They were disorganized and it was a fucking joke. And it was so apparent. And so just if you are a leftist listening, like, this is what not to do. Don't talk to the media. Like, there are people at every demonstration or whatever who should be talking to the media, and if that person is not you, like, and you've decided this ahead of time, if it's not you, don't talk to them.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of people that were just not prepared to be on the media, and it's always a little cringe.
Yeah, there's a lot of, and you see this with some like anti-fascist actions and stuff. You have people who are there, down for the cause, ready to do stuff, but they are not ready to be interviewed by media who is going to twist things you say. They're going to ask you fucking loaded ass questions. Direct them to the person who is a media liaison or whatever you've decided ahead of time. There are people who are there leading demonstrations. Let them talk to the media. Don't ever, I'm so passionate that I peed in my pants for the cause. Don't say it. Don't do it, because this is the result. You look like this fucking convoy. So yeah, just, there are people who are better at talking to the media, and these people did not know that. So they revealed all, and it is a joke that we get to laugh about now. So
Right. Yeah, I don't know. This is a bit of a tangent, but the worst example I've seen of that is there's a climate group in the UK called Insulate Britain, I think, and they're saying we need to put like insulation in old buildings to cut down on energy usage. And one of their I guess spokesperson was on some like UK news show, and they just tore him apart and
Yeah.
was like, "Oh man, buddy, you were not the right person for this job."
Yeah. Which, that's going to happen to some extent, but yeah, you have to be very careful. Like, if you yourself are not really prepared to deal with media, don't do it.
Yeah.
Because
I'm not that person, so like I guess
Yeah.
I shouldn't pass judgment or whatever, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not that person. You're better off to tell them to fuck off. Like, or you don't have to be rude, but like you can be. Just don't.
Yeah.
Don't reveal this kind of shit. Don't reveal disorganization. Don't reveal, failures and stuff like, oh, we wish this, we wish that. No, don't do it, because this is what it looks like. I mean, these people probably weren't like lining up to say, oh yeah, we did stupid, embarrassing shit. Of course not. But like, that's what happened as they talked to the media. And so, lesson to be learned here. I actually thought this was just a joke story, but yeah, I guess there is something to learn here. Don't do what they did. Be very careful when you're talking to media.
And I'll say, like, that's not to say that don't admit when you're wrong. Like, don't just yeah, don't just double down and say, no, I was never wrong about anything. Like, you can admit that you're wrong. Like, I don't know, everyone was wrong saying that Putin would not invade
I was
Ukraine
wrong
or whatever.
I was one of them. I'm like, whoa, okay, all right then.
The real secret is to just gaslight the world, and don't say that. Like, I wouldn't go with like, I know I was wrong. I would simply say I never said that.
Yeah, that's. I mean, God,
but the important part is that when someone like shows you the evidence that you did, just say that wasn't me.
Look, I want to argue against you, but I part of me thinks you're right, because that really is what we see every day, and it works. It works.
I literally found out yesterday that a good friend of mine got out of like some shoplifting charges because he stonewalled the police so hard that they were like, "This is not even worth it for the $50 you stole."
Yeah, I had a similar moment years ago.
His friend ratted him out, and he literally said, "I don't know that person."
Fuck, yeah, that's the correct response if your friend rats you out. Jeez.
What the fuck? Yeah, what's with this friend ratting him out? That's what I want
to. They were 17. Is all I know.
Okay. Right.
Sometimes it takes some time to learn, and
fear is a powerful drug. I can understand that. So, but anyway, I think that's about all we got, right?
Yeah, I think we can wrap it up.
Well, if I've learned any lesson, it's that we could go on for an hour or two more, but we're going to give everyone that experience.
Legit, my butt is getting sore, so I think.
What have you been doing while we're on the call?
Sitting in a chair for fucking 4 hours.
Yeah. Hey, being a podcaster is real hard work.
Yeah. And I gotta sit down and edit this for another few hours too. So
sitting on our ass for the cause.
That's right.
Yeah, I gotta like go stretch and like, I don't know, grab a wrench and just start slamming my knuckles into everything I see.
All right. Well, I guess that's it. Any final thoughts before we sign off?
No, just thanks to everyone who listened, and as always, check us out on social media.
Yeah, thanks for everyone commenting on our stuff and reaching out and saying hi, sending us messages, whatnot.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Yeah, before we even started recording, we had a genuine discussion about how much we enjoy doing the show, engaging with listeners, the people we meet, and the little small slice of community that we've carved out. It's really fun. We like you guys.
Yeah, or wedged ourselves into, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
So, all right. Good night. Or
all right, take it easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
When left entirely on its own devices, capitalism foists its diseconomies and its toxicity upon the general public and upon the natural environment. And then it does an interesting thing. It eventually begins to devour itself. If the paladins of corporate America want to know what really threatens our way of life, it's their way of life.
It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
It's important that we examine the twin forces behind the Biden candidacy, the billionaires and the Bolsheviks.